Hello, everybody. All right. So, as we wait to see if more people show up, I'm going to take a moment to, before we get started, I'm going to head take care of a couple of things real quick. Then, when I get back, of course, we'll talk about what's on tap for tonight and get into things. So, with that being said, let me just go ahead and put some music on for you. If you want to wait, I'll be right back. Right, I'm back. Let me just take. Oh, no, 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 no. Man, I almost ended the broadcast prematurely because I was about to click the wrong thing. Anyways, oh boy. I gotta say that when you come close to doing something like that. Alrighty then. So let me just point out what's on tap for tonight. So on, of course, tonight's broadcast. We got a couple articles we're going to go over from Bounding into Comics. First off, of course, we're be looking at some stuff going on with CDR as well as Marvel Comics. Right, I think Steve Orlando has some interesting commentary on the state of comic book sales. Got quite a plethora of wrestling news in the wrestling wrap up. Of course, as I mentioned late last week, the NWA held its Crockett Cup tournament this weekend. We'll go over some of that. We won't go over every single result. Just get through the basics. Also, of course, a lot of news surrounding WE, AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan, particularly with the Forbidden Door event coming up. And then, of course, at the very end, we'll do the This Day in Niche History segment. So, with all that being said, we're coming up on 4 minutes now. We'll wait just one more. Well, I guess we can go ahead and get started here and get to hopefully more people will eventually show up. And as always, a couple of things. One, if you guys can help me out by liking and sharing the stream, seeing if we can get some more friendly people in here, that would really help. Also, if anything we talk about here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. And with that, without any further ado, why don't we go ahead and let's get started here. Started with the first article we're going to go over. All right, so the first article we're going to go over is this one right here. And of course, we have the scene from in the header there. We have the scene from the latest Amazing Spider-Man issue, in which in what some people call is a way of trying to get people to like the Kamala Khan character a little bit more. They have her do an act of self-sacrifice. So, anyway, so let's get into this here. CBR parent company Valent Inc. cuts outlets editor-in-chief, two senior executives as part of, quote, major structural changes related to turning the corner on both culture and performance, unquote. Article by Spencer Piccoli, published back on June 1st, which was last Thursday, in the comic book section. So let's see what's going on with this shakeup at CBR, Comic Book Review, as its full name is. Let's see. And no, I don't have anything yet. Okay. All right. So, with the Western comic book industry struggling to survive under the weight of its own hubris, so follows one of its most prominent news outlets, as the widely recognized comic book resources recently underwent a major staffing upheaval in service of parent company Valnet Inc.'s new vision for the site's future. Okay. The outlet's shakeup began on May 30th, which was, I guess, what was it? Last Tuesday, I guess, when, as first reported by the Pop versus Graham Macmillan, the site's now former editor-in-chief, Adam Swiderski, announced via LinkedIn that, quote, my time at CBR has come to a close, as I was laid off by Valnet this morning, unquote. Quote, I'll reflect later, but for now, I need work, unquote. He then admitted, proceeding to briefly list a number of his personal credentials. Quote, I know it's a tough time in our business right now, but I would so appreciate any leads. So if you know of anything or know of anyone with whom it might behoove me to connect, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks all, unquote. Okay, so notably, having just joined the site as its executive in charge in July 2022. So basically, the guy wasn't even there a full year. The guy was not even there a full year, and they just laid the dude off. Wow. Swiderski's departure caps off his time in the role at less than a year. Whoa. Let's see. A short time later, Macmillan learned that Valnet Inc., whose other holdings notably include such similar pop culture and entertainment news sites as Screen Rant, Collider, Game Rant, and The Gamer, had also pink-slipped CBR senior news editor Steve Girding and senior features editor Christopher Baggett. That's Baggett, not the other word. While Girding, who first joined the outlet as a freelancer in 2005, so the guy's been there for 18 years, has yet to offer a public comment on his departure. Baggett has since revealed via Twitter that he was completely blindsided by Valnet Inc.'s decision. Quote, I'm still honestly trying to parse it, but I was laid off from CBR a little bit ago, unquote, tweeted Baggett. Quote, I won't go into too much detail, as I have no desire at this time to air my grievances, unquote. Yeah, I probably need some time to process what happened. Yeah, if he said that came out of nowhere for him, then yeah, he's probably going to be, just he's in the mucky, he's in the mucky, he's in the mucky, so you better muck up. And I thank you for whoever, of course, with gave me the like and the share. I do appreciate that. Um, hopefully we can get some more friendly people in here as I um going about here. Um, quote: I will say that I am so proud of the team I had and the work we did, and I am so grateful for every one of you who have ever read anything we wrote. Unquote. He added, quote, no clue what's next, but I am available to work. Let's make cool stuff together. Then kind of with the greater than sign, three combination, I guess heart, unquote. In a statement shared via the company's internal Slack and later obtained by Macmillan, Valmet Inc. content director George Edelman explained that the staffing changes occurred because, quote, CBR will be undergoing major structural changes related to turning the corner on both culture and performance, unquote. Wonder what that means. I wonder what that means. Could it be that maybe, well, okay, from what I've always heard, I guess CBR has been considered a little bit left leaning. I wonder if maybe they just got tired of shoveling out that stuff to appease a small minority, and maybe are going to focus on really being there for the real fans. Quote, as a result, certain roles no longer exist. We are focusing on individuals who can create a more positive culture going forward, unquote, he added. Edelman further informed remaining employees that the CBR would now be under the direction of the site's current managing editor, John Arvidon. Quote, we have the utmost confidence in him and his abilities, unquote, said the Valmet Inc. representative. Quote, and we will be setting up calls to discuss the restructuring and the future with editors throughout the day and the week, unquote. But yeah, it looks like they're serious. Their CBR is going to go, sounds like they're going to go through a major shakeup. That's pretty interesting to say the least. Let's see something here. Sometimes some crimes go slipping through the cracks. All right. All right. Well, anyways, getting back to the article here. Notably, these layoffs come hot on the heels of the site's former in smaller quotes here, exclusive content and PR manager Greg Katzman's voluntary exit from the company in favor of a new position as IDW Publishing Senior Public Relations Manager. Quote, big personal news. I'll be joining the at IDW Publishing team as Senior Manager, Public Relations, at the end of the month, unquote, Katzman announced on May 15th. Quote, I've enjoyed my time at CBR, but the opportunity to return to passionately promoting comics, including Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, is too good to pass up. Thrilled to join the team, unquote. As of writing, Valnet Inc. has yet to offer public content a comment on Swiderski, Baggett, and Girding's departure. All right. So, anyways, so there we go with that one. 1550 into it. In a city of justice, city of love, in a city of peace, every one of us, for we all know it, can't live without it. Gotham City, oh yeah. In a city of justice, city of love, in a city of peace, every one of us, we all know it, can't live without it. And here's the other article we're going to look at today. See, anybody else is here yet? Oh. All right, so here we go. Gonna get started on the next article here. I haven't seen it. All right, Marvel Comics writer Steve Orlando admits comic book sales, quote unquote, are struggling, unquote. Predicts his smaller quote Scarlet Witch, unsmaller quote, series might get canceled at 10 issues. Article by John F. Trent, published earlier today in the comic book section. So, current Scarlet Witch writer Steve Orlando recently admitted that sales on the series, quote, are struggling alongside the whole industry, unquote. In a now deleted tweet, Orlando tweeted, quote, sales are struggling alongside the whole industry. Right now, we'll hopefully get to 10. He then added, quote, to get even 15 issues, sales will need to continue to climb. Yeah, well, if you're not writing stories that are if you're not writing stories that are going to attract the largest crowds, then that's like shooting yourself in the foot. If you're only catering to a small minority of people, a small yet very loud minority, then that's going to be kind of a problem. Orlando then speculated that the cost of comics might have something to do with sales across the industry struggling. Well, that's only part of it. Of course, yeah. I mean, who wants to pay $5.99, $6.99, $7.99 for a comic, right? There was a time in our country when, and you guys see it every Friday when we go through the Golden Age stuff. That there was a time comic books were 10 cents. How did we go from 10 cents to It's a $7.99 on some books. That's quite a leap. He responded to a user who wrote, quote, "Comics are crazy expensive now. I'm all in on manga, which is much more affordable," unquote. Orlando replied, quote, "I'm with you. Not that prices are up to. We're in a weird spot where folks in general keep wanting a higher production value and paper quality, which is part, but all of it, of course." Elucidating Orlando's comments even more is that ICV2 reports the series was the eighth most sold series by units in April 2023. According to its Comic Hub system that tracked point of sale data over 125 stores selling American comic books around the world. The 7 titles that outsold Scarlet Witch number 4 were Amazing Spider-Man number 23, Batman number 134, Spider-Man number 7, Guardians of the Galaxy number 1, Amazing Spider-Man number 24, Venom number 18, and X-Men number 21. The series fell to 14th on the most sold series by dollars, being bested by Batman number 134, Amazing Spider-Man number 23, Guardians of the Galaxy number 1, Spider-Man number 7, Avengers Assemble Omega number 1, Marvel's Voices Spider-Verse number 1, Amazing Spider-Man number 24, Batman and Joker the Deadly Duo number 6, Sins of Sinister Dominion number 1, Venom number 18, X-Men number 21, Immoral X-Men number 3, and Superman number 3. The month of April appeared to see the series more up on the charts. In March, Scarlet Witch number 3 was 13th in most sold units and 22nd in most sold by dollars. Scarlet Witch number 2 was 17th in units sold in February and 12th in most sold by dollars. ICV2 reported in January that the debut issue was the third most sold book by units, only being bested by Amazing Spider-Man number 17 and Batman number 131. It was the fifth most sold book by dollars, behind Nightwing number 100, Amazing Spider-Man number 17, Batman 131, and Batman One Bad Day, Bane number 1. Hey, Tim. Hi, Mike. Just letting you know I will be on the weekend edition more on. Well, good to hear it. Always welcome your commentary, Tim. Um, look around. Inflation. Yeah, if you're talking, well, I mean, yeah, I mean the what I was mentioning earlier about the prices. How do, yeah, I mean it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek comment there, Tim. Um, yeah, I know inflation has a lot to do with it, but let's see. The fact that a series that is currently the 8th most sold series and the 14th most sold by dollars might get canceled after 10 issues shows the sorry state that both Marvel Comics and DC Comics have wrought upon themselves. They did it with shoddy storytelling and immoral propaganda, prompting all sorts of disordered lifestyles. As I was saying earlier, the idea of the idea of them trying to cater to a very small but loud minority. Well, as just plain hatred to those who rejected it and called it out, not to mention employing numerous creators who aggressively deride people, letting them know what they were doing was indeed wrong. And it probably doesn't help when you have some creators go out and say things like, well, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. As we quote Kelly Sue DeConnick for the umpteenth time. uh, and the readers and customers they drove away do not look like they will return in anytime soon. ICV2's April 2023 top 20 adult graphic novel list only has one Western published title on the list, that being Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin hardcover. Every other title is either a manga or a manhwa, with One Piece, Volume 102, Kaiju number 8, Volume 6, and Spy Family, Volume 9, taking the top 3 spots. Yeah, and then you. So out of the top, out of the top 10, Viz Media has 8, I think it has 7 of those spots. IDW has 1, Square Enix manga has 1, and Yen Press has 1. So top 20 Viz Media, yeah, it's a lot of it's just manga. What do you make of Steve Orlando's comments, and what it shows about? Well, I should have said it, not is, but that's probably a typo. About the state of Western comics, specifically at Marvel and DC. Well, yeah, I mean, if they keep shoveling out the stuff that they're currently shoveling out, it, you're gonna probably hear a death knell soon enough for both those companies. Companies, in DC's case, company that's been around for something like what, almost 90 years. So I mean, you know, so anyways, so that's all the articles we have for you tonight. But said we're gonna be a bit more heavy on the wrestling news because there was quite a bit going on in that regard this past weekend. Um, but I think I'd get those 2 stories in for you guys. Um, so so first off on the WWE front, so right now, Lacey Evans, you know, she hasn't been getting used as much on WWE programming. Um, apparently she's taken to Twitter because apparently WWE has nothing creative for her to put her on TV with. So she's apparently gotten into a bit of a spat with Sergeant Slaughter's daughter. A little bit of back and forth going on between Lacey Evans and Sergeant Slaughter's daughter, who basically went off on Lacey for trying to be, Sergeant Slaughter. Now, the kicker here is that Lacey Evans actually is a former Marine. So, but WWE has been playing with her character, first having her as a Marine character, also having her as kind of a sassy Southern belle. Just nothing's really been connecting for her of late. There's more talk coming up about possibility of the bloodline being reimagined here. Of course, right now there's a slight feud going on between Roman and Solo Sikoa on one side, and the Uso brothers. And the Usos recently were kind of kicked out of the group. I think it was on Friday. They do have Raw coming up tonight. Let's take a look at what's going on for Raw tonight in terms of the in terms of what they have planned for tonight in terms of matches. Let's find it. So tonight's Raw, which will be coming from the XL Center in Hartford, Connecticut. In a non-title match, Kevin Owens takes on Intercontinental Champion Gunther. And there are a couple of women's Money in the Bank qualifying matches going on as Becky Lynch takes on Sonya Deville and Natalya takes on Zoe Stark. And in the main event, it's slated Seth Rollins will be defending the new WWE World Heavyweight title in a match against Damian Priest of the of Judgment Day. So that's what's going on Raw tonight. In some AEW news, there have been a couple of pregnancies that were recently announced. As first off in WWE, and I probably mentioned this last week too. Alexa Bliss, who's been off television for the last month, she just recently announced that she was pregnant with her and Ryan Cabrera's first child, and also I recently had pointed out too that Sammy Guevara and Ty Mala are expecting their first child. That's why Ty Mala has been off the air of late. Also, a couple of announcements for New Japan's Forbidden Door, or for AEW and New Japan's collaborative effort of Forbidden Doors. I think a couple of matches were announced, as it looks like Bryan Danielson will be taking on Okada at Forbidden Door, and another match that was just announced looks like Will Ospreay will be challenging Kenny Omega for the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship at Forbidden Door. So that stuff is happening. In terms of legends and their kids, Teal Piper, who is the daughter of the late great Roddy Piper, has been doing shows for Ring of Honor lately. There's been some talk she might do some work for AEW as well. Let's see. And of course, this Wednesday will be AEW's Dynamite, and on this Wednesday's show, as soon as I find the information here, on this Wednesday show coming from the Broadmoor World Arena in Colorado Springs, already signed. Orange Cassidy will be defending the AEW National Championship against Swerve Strickland. Ricky Starks takes on Jay White, and in a Texas Tornado tag match, Jungle Hook of Jack Perry and Hook will be taking on the tandem representing La Facción Ingobernable of Dralistico and Preston Vance. That's coming up this Wednesday. And now for some more news from coming out of the NWA. Of course, as I mentioned, the Crockett Cup tournament happened this past weekend. Now, the winners of the tournament turned out to be Winners of the tournament turned out to be Knox and Mike Knox and Trevor Murdoch. They and I won't, as I say, I won't go over every match, just the key matches. So first off, on Saturday's portion of the broadcast, on the pre-show, you had a number of the first round matches going. In fact, I think they were all first round matches. In there, all right. Then on night one of the Crockett Cup pay-per-view itself, as shown um, on on Fight TV, you had Joe Alonzo taking on Alex Taylor, a singles match. In a hardcore team war match, you had the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champions of Marty and Missa Kate, known as M95, teaming with Ruthie J and Samantha Starr to defeat all four members of Pretty Empowered. They had, of course, Baby Doll, the legend Baby Doll, who happens to also be Samantha Starr's mother, in their corner. EC3 retained the national heavyweight championship over Thrillbilly Silas Mason. And then that was on Saturday, and then moving on to Sunday. On the pre-show on Sunday's show, let's see what we have here, aside from some other. In a United States Tag Team Gauntlet match, the Country Gentlemen retained their title over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams. Silas Mason defeated Dan Moff. M95 retained the World Women's Tag Team title over Angelina Love and Maxie Impaler. And Ruthie J defeated Kenzie Page via disqualification to win in a World Women's television title. Now, of course, as you all probably know, titles cannot change hands on a DQ. So Kenzie Page is still a champion, but she was able to retain via DQ loss. So let's see now. So on to Sunday's pay-per-view then. On to night 2 of the Crockett Cup. Of course, featured more of the EC3 would once again defend the national title against NWA World Television Champion Tom Latimer. Colby Corino, making his return to the NWA, would win a number one contender 7-way scramble match over the likes of Eric Jackson, Flip Gordon, Gags Gimp, Jaron Fulton, and Joe Alonzo, and PJ Hawks. So he's now the number one contender to Cody or to Kerry Morton's title. In an unsanctioned Masked Man defeated Scion, original name there. Camille retained the NWA World Women's title over Natalia Markova. In the finals of the Crockett Cup tournament, as we mentioned, Knox and Murdoch defeated Blunt Force Trauma. There in Stevens, their corner. So that's all the wrestling wrap-up news I have for you guys tonight. Wow, okay, so with that, let me see now. Oh yeah, I could have probably well, at this point, let's see now. Let me go back and see if I can find at least one more article, because we're running maybe a little shorter than expected. Let me see if there's anything more I can add to what we were covering there. Yeah. All right, no, nothing too new, at least comic wise. Alrighty then. So, I guess granted might be a tad early, but I think we should be okay. So today being Monday, June the 5th, 2023. Why don't we go ahead and take a look back at this day in each history? History. Let me just see here. 2013, 2008. 1983 and then 1953. Okay. So with that, let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. History! So first off, we're going to go back to we're going to go back 70 years ago today. As on this date, 70 years ago today, the 20th issue of Forbidden World from ACG went on sale on this date. Look at that! You got a crocodile, a humanoid crocodile right there, going after that girl. Oh boy, exploring supernatural forbidden worlds. This is a point in time when they were really picking up on a lot of sci-fi stuff here. Um, but on this date, back in 1953, 70 years ago today, the 20th issue of Forbidden Worlds from ACG went on sale on this date. It sold for 10 cents and was 32 pages. There we go with that one. And I do thank you guys for all the likes and shares, of course. Moving on to the next piece in each history as we move ahead to 1983. As on this date in 1983, in Atlanta, and the NWA affiliate Georgia Championship Wrestling, Larry Zbyszko wins the vacant NWA national title in a tournament final over Mr. Wrestling 2 in Atlanta. Now, what happened here was there's an interesting story behind this situation. This is actually what the WWE would play this situation up later with their own title. So Larry Zbyszko had been pursuing the national heavyweight title for a while, and after not winning it Killer Brooks had won it back in March 20th, from Paul Orndorff. Larry Zbyszko would then go and buy the belt from, goes and buys the belt from Killer Brooks for $25,000 to proclaim himself champion. Zbyszko would eventually be about a little over a month later, on April 30th. Larry Zbyszko was stripped of the national title by NWA president Bob Geigel, citing that by under NWA bylaws, that transaction, you couldn't just purchase a title. Basically, is what he said. So a tournament. So once Larry Zbyszko was stripped of the title, tournament was held, and he won the tournament. Now, of course, as I mentioned too before, WWE or the WWF at the time would do this a few years later, where as y'all remember, this happened on in March of 1988, in which February 1988, in which Andre the Giant had beaten Hulk Hogan episode of Saturday Night's Main Event, only to sell the title to Ted DiBiase, and then DiBiase was, of course, subsequently stripped of it. So you all know the history there. But it was this situation right here that gave the WWF the idea for that angle. They did it in Georgia. So just a little background on a classic WWE storyline. So now, getting ready to move on to the next piece of niche history here. We head to 2008. On this day in 2008, Cartoon Network would premiere a couple of shows. First off, the Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack would premiere on Cartoon Network on this date back in 2008, 15 years ago today. Also, on this date, June 5th, 2008, also marked the United States premiere of Total Drama. Now, some of you know about the Total Drama series, Total Drama Island, all that. Total Drama made its United States premiere on this date back in 2008, 15 years ago today. So on this date, 15 years ago today, the Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack and Total Drama both premiered on Cartoon Network on this date back in 2008. So let's see now. So one more piece of niche history here. And on this date, 10 years ago today, in 2013, the second season of Kingdom premiered in Japan on this date back in 2013. So on this date, 10 years ago today, Pierrot's Kingdom, the second season of Pierrot's Kingdom, premiered on this date. It's actually a pretty good anime, focusing in on how China became its own country, basically, going from their warring states era into a unified China, with some key, focusing in on some key Chinese leaders of the time. So on this date, 10 years ago today, the second season of Pierrot's Kingdom premiered in Japan on this date. So there you go, everybody. That's all the news I have for you tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed it. We'll be back here, of course, tomorrow with more niche news. And don't forget, this Friday, I'll have Rick Piper back with me again, as we'll be looking at comics that went on sale from Standard Comics in October of 1939. And yes, folks, we're almost done. We've only got a couple more weeks this week with Rick doing Standard Comics, reading out of Best Books, Volume 1, Number 2, as well. And the next week, of course, next Friday, Rex Christian in from Devil Flyer Momentum, as we'll be reading from Comics on Parade from United Features Syndicate, Volume 1, Number 15. So we'll be finishing up October and then getting to November on the 23rd. With that, guys, I thank everybody for being here tonight. Hope you all enjoyed the show. I thank everybody for the likes and the shares. That really does help. See if we can get some more friendly people in here to get in on the conversation about niche and all the stuff going on. We hope everybody has been enjoying the weekend editions as well. Talked about a lot of stuff last night. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.